So many people do this back and forth with their health. They start exercising, then they stop and they get frustrated, or they start eating healthier and then they fall off the wagon and beat themselves up and never really achieve their goals. And sometimes people just have a hard time understanding, where to start. It can all seem incredibly overwhelming, and how to integrate it into your life that makes sense, because we're all busy and some of us have obstacles that are challenging to overcome when it comes to focusing or carving out time for ourselves. That's where a health coach like my next guest, Marcos Rivera, can come in and help align your priorities with your mindset and actions, and help you develop the tools you need to create peak performance, and however you define that for yourself. So I'm excited to have this conversation with him today. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for again for coming on to our show. A couple weeks back.
Yeah, that was fun. That was really fun. At the time we were talking about, health coaching and what you do, and I'd love for you just to chat a little bit about that with people, because I think anybody can slap a label on the internet and say I'm a health coach and call themselves that. But I know from my conversations with you that not all health coaches are created equal. Not everybody
hmm
has certifications or done the studying, but anybody, it's unregulated as far as I know in terms of an industry largely, and anybody can say they're a health coach.
Yeah, and I think there's, the to that point. I mean, there's a kind of a movement with like a board certification for health coaching as a whole. So they're trying to get it a little bit more structured and have like an entity behind it. So I think that's like a step in the right direction. And then, again, like I feel like health coaching itself is very broad. So like there's multiple certifications outside of like the board certification that help you like get up to that point. And then there's like a standardized test, right? Which um, my colleague spent like what felt like days studying for, and I just kind of showed up for it, seemingly, quote unquote. And yeah, the movement to like get more qualified health coaches. There's obviously these different avenues, and my avenue is more like nutrition led and nutrition focused, whereas other people might be more on like the mental side of things, right? Building habits that way. Of course, that's super important, but for me, being a board certified health coach, it's nutrition and fitness led, and then helping other habits really start coming to the forefront. And then, like you mentioned, kind of like peak performance and like more so on the athlete front. But I think most people probably have some sort of athletic tie in their life to some point. They probably did something in school. They may have done something, at college level. Maybe they're just a weekend warrior and they really enjoy a new hobby that they didn't know existed until they were 40. But all those things really require a well qualified coach and someone that's been doing it for a while, in my eyes. So
Yeah,
yeah.
in my all my conversations with people who do health coaching, a lot of every one of them is very sincere in their desire to help other people. But what I found is that in talking to them, it's, a lot of them don't have the background, education, or training that, from my point of view at least, makes me comfortable referring a patient to them. And then I talked to
Interesting.
you and your partner, and I was so impressed with your credentials and your studying and things that you've did, beyond just the basics, to get a level of expertise that I was very impressed with. And that's one of the reasons why I want to talk with you, because I want you to help educate people about what questions they can ask to help understand, what makes one health coach better than another, or can give somebody a level of comfort that they are actually speaking to somebody who could really get them to where they need to go.
Ooh, that is a great question. Like good questions to ask. I think a great coach, there's going to be a baseline assessment that that individual needs to do on you. Like you you can't just assume that you know everything about that person without really like getting to know them and having that kind of initial like high quality kind of like a quality of life assessment and kind of getting to know like those particulars, all those different things, and based on the feedback that's in like an intake form does really like pave the groundwork to ask those deeper questions, as you get to know them with like an initial consult with them. So if someone was to come to me and say, hey, what's a personal trainer that you recommend, and I was like, well, you're in remote area that I don't exist in, but I want you to get like a personal trainer to help you on this health journey. So what are they doing? What are the requirements to get there? And they're like, well, they just had me show up and just do a workout with them. All right. They didn't like look at basic fundamental movements, whether that's like as simple as gait, a squat pattern, how overhead mobility in general, right? Someone that's going to take that kind of like time to really sit down with you in a one-on-one session for 30 to 60 minutes before they like really take your money, I think is definitely there for the right reasons. And I think that helps me help find people that would be, again, maybe not in my normal like circle, that I can hopefully trust and have a conversation with. And for like some background for some of the people that I work with, yes, there's ones that work one-on-one with me in the nutrition sense and nutrition and fitness. And I provide coaching in a remote capacity. So I don't necessarily get that like in-person time to that degree. But if those people are needing that because they're feeling like it would be unsafe, I then try to help vest that for them. Right.
So what would be
Um,
the role of a health coach in somebody's overall, health journey, or within, let's say they've got a team that they want to work with, or they have a doctor, or they have a PA or nurse, or, where does a health coach fit in?
we do all the work the doctors don't want to do. Just kidding. But I mean, it's like again, taking the recommendations that a physician would recommend. Again, we want to go about improving your diet and lifestyle to help with lowering your cholesterol, for example. I feel like that's a pretty common example, or get a better blood pressure, right? But then they say like eat right, exercise more, right? And then it's like out the door for maybe in the traditional insurance model. Us health coaches is there to follow up and make sure, hey, what are you doing and what are your roadblocks? What's getting in your way? So when it comes to me as a coach, I'm very high touch. I want to talk to people at least once a week. And there becomes a physical limit to how many people I can talk to, obviously. But, currently anybody I work with in that capacity, I want to talk to you. I need to know what's going on. What made you have good decisions? What made you have bad decisions? Being coached is you showing up at the end of the day and trying to actually figure out like what went right and what went wrong and how you can do more things right over time. Right. So really a health coach's role is to provide potential solutions in a sense, but never tell a client what to do. It's like, this sounds pretty similar. And this is something that worked well for my other client. Does that sound like it's appealing to you? Would that work for you? List a bunch of different, ideas and then let them say like, what, that one actually like resonates with me. I think that seems very like realistic. And then I will go and try that. And then, all right, cool. We gave it 7 days, report back. What happened? What didn't happen? And so there's a lot of great tools nowadays that kind of help me collect data that's also not very like difficult for the client to get to me. It used to be like Google Sheets, right? I needed people to go into different apps on their phone to give me information to say, hey, did you walk more? How are you eating? How are you doing this? Did you weigh in? Have you taken photos? Like all these things. But now there's a lot of great platforms that kind of lump it all together and tether to like other pieces of technology and take those like that extra work out of the equation. But I need that information because this is lifestyle management and intervention, right? So we need to figure out a way to like observe that, but not make it extra work for people because you're busy with your job. If I told you, right, to be like, hey, I need you to weigh in every day and then report it to me, and you're like, there's no way, I'm not going to write it down. But I told you, hey, I have a solution for you. What if I told you the scale? You just step on it, walk away. It's all getting right to me. I don't need anything other than you to step on it. You're probably going to be a little bit more inclined to do it, even though you're like, I don't like weighing myself daily. I don't like seeing that number sets my tone for a bad day or a bad week because I was up a pound or two on Monday.
And some people don't even want to weigh themselves because they've got may have a history of an eating disorder. It may be something that is just emotionally triggering for them to even get on a scale. So
Mm-hmm.
there has to be other ways then to help them track their progress. What are other ways that people can track their progress in terms of how they're doing that does not involve a scale?
Yeah. So again, meeting them kind of like where they're at that point in time. I always think a photo is such a great place to start, or capturing a video of all those angles that could be a typical like before and after photo. Take the video, right? Set it in a phone folder and forget about it. Like literally, like that's day one. This is when I started my health journey. I can't tell you how many clients I've worked with over the years that didn't do their initial photo, and I didn't hound them for it. But they're like, man, I really wish I would have listened to you and got started. Like, I really wish I could have that comparison of where I was, because in steps a whole new psychological process once you've gotten to a new goal. You don't remember why you started. And you kind of need that tether and reminder back to that at some point. And I think that visual photo does it so well. The measurements and the scale weight, like, yeah, like it's an objective thing, but subjectively, like you probably have some sort of emotional response to that photo slash video. Um, and here I have a client right now. She's been with me for going on over 3 years, right? Amazing progress, but she still deals with these like old demons of like when she weighed a certain weight and felt a certain way. And that mindset and trying to break out of that is still very difficult for her. This was the first Memorial Day weekend for her where she finally listened to me and didn't track her food, right? So, that's a behavioral decision that helps her feel in control, which I'm fine with. But like, I was like, how did you feel just to kind of like let loose? She's like, my God, I enjoyed some of those cinnamon buns, like, stress free. I did have a little more alcohol. I was tanning, I was walking. I did all the other habits that we've worked on, but it felt good to just like unplug from my phone for a while. Right. And, we can call that an orthorexic relationship to some degree. Right. Like, and I've even had that. Like, I've had like, I'm in my phone for, I mean, I think I had a streak of like 3 years of logging just like her, but I've eventually had to be like, this is a tool. I don't want it to dictate my life. When do you need to apply the tool more? Maybe in a weight loss phase, right? But if you can build up all those other habits, to me as a coach, when I'm, trying to create a plan for somebody, I want to know you can do it a year from now. It's not this like 1,200 calorie diet, that's just like X amount of protein and stay under this calorie total. It's like, hey, what can we keep doing to help you feel good and report on? And it all starts from like, again, that initial kind of photo or video. And then it's just like, hey, send it to me. I don't ever share anything with anybody. If you want me to share it in the future, cool. I'll need your approval, like your written consent. Like this is between you and me and or you and you. You don't even have to send it to me, but create that documentation, journal it essentially. So yeah, I mean, I do have a lot of people are much like that too, where they're like, I don't want to weigh myself daily. And I'm like, put a piece of tape over your scale, get a Wi-Fi scale. You don't need to see the number. I just need to see it in the background. Yeah. And people are like, yeah, okay, I can do that. That's reasonable.
Mindset that you mentioned and is so important. What are some of the barriers you think that people have in terms of reaching their goals when it comes to mindset?
I think everybody wants to think they're growth minded, but they become very fixed. Growth is to truly grow, it's uncomfortable. I can use myself in my business world right now. Taking a risk on something that's uncertain and new to you feels very unnerving, and there's a lot of pressure because you really want it to work because you want to grow, right? But that usually will be the thing that kind of restricts you from actually just going after, doing it, the thing. And the mindset piece, I think that's why the high touch and those deeper conversations and people really starting to detach from like some of the normal conversations or like kind of like the platitude conversations where they're telling me what I want to hear, but they're not really telling me what's going on. So mindset is something that, look, I can have a ton of before and afters and a bunch of great results and testimonials, but at the end of the day, we need to get to know each other. And I think in today's world, to truly achieve peak performance, you have to understand that you truly need connection with your coach or with the community of people that help guide you for the long term. And you only ever really truly reach peak performance when you first have baseline consistency. And to get to that higher end stuff where, do I need to care about like my solution of electrolytes to go do this marathon training? Like, okay, we're into the weeds. Like, have you even just started doing like zone 2 based running or training, right? Like,
What is that? Define that for people. They might not know what that is. I don't know what that is. Zone
for
two.
zone 2 based training. So zone 2 would be like, for layman's terms, I guess you would say, quote unquote, like, it's a pace or an effort that is so low that it doesn't classify as like, you wouldn't almost register it as like any level of intensity, but you have to spend a lot of time in this particular heart rate zone that you're able to go, go slow to go fast is like the best way of explaining it. So if you didn't know what that heart rate was, it's whatever pace you could sustain on any apparatus or running or swimming or whatever, that is you holding a conversation. Obviously can't really do that in water, but like it's a conversational pace.
Yeah.
Um,
I like that talk test. I like is a very practical, mild
mhm,
to help people just generally understand mild, moderate, or vigorous, activity. And it sounds like what you're talking about is mild
mild. Yep.
versus moderate, where you can if you're exercising and you can have a conversation with somebody, but you're winded, but you can still have that conversation. That's moderate, and vigorous is if you're exercising and you can't hold a conversation, you can't really converse. That is vigorous. Is that so? Is that accurate?
Yeah.
How I characterize
That
all that?
it's super accurate. And if you wanted to get into the weeds of the science, then you could do an actual VO2 test to know where those actual heart rates would be, which is what we do at one of the clinics that I work at. And it's great because then it's like, hey, based on your physiology today, these are the numbers and they will change as you train. So you might come in 1 year and have that heart rate, and you come back a year later because that's normal cadence for the patients that we do see. And their heart rate is higher, but still at that like it's they go off of respiratory exchange ratio, so CO2 and oxygen in the chamber to to truly like give you that number. And that number may have gone up 10 beats, may have gone up 20. It just really depends on how well trained you are in that particular, zone two type of training, right? Um, and that means that oxygen is really being able to supply the exercise. So, you know, again, the science behind it, you spend a lot of time doing zone two stuff to get really good at it. So, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, however many hours per week, which for a lot of people, like, do I really want to be a peak performer in long distance running or those types of events? For some people, yeah, they like the challenge of that. Something that's gained a lot of popularity here in the last couple of years, started over in Europe and then came over to the States, is high rocks. So
What's that?
so High Rocks is a event where you do 8,000 meters worth of running, but it's broken up into stations. So you'll run 1 kilometer, again, Europe, right? So you'll run 1K, and then from there you will do a station of work. And you'll do that 8 times with 8 different stations. And so some of the people that are the best in the world are sustaining paces that do 8 kilometers of running plus these 8 stations that all take roughly anywhere from like 2 to 4 minutes per station, right? For these different like functional fitness movements would be the best way of explaining it. Um, and they're doing it like as a solo endeavor in like 50 to 55 minutes. So you've ran 8,000 meters and you've also done all this other work. And a lot of people are like, wow, that sounds like really fun. I'm going to get off my couch and go do that. Right. And it even has that kind of, it's like the modern day 5K. It's like, it's like anybody, it feels like it's very attainable very quickly for a lot of people. They pump music the whole time. They run heats like it's a 5K or a marathon,
They
and it
make it
goes
kind of
on.
fun.
Yeah.
And challenging. You mentioned peak performance several times, and that's obviously the title of this episode as well.
Mm-hmm.
How obviously not everybody wants to run a marathon or do the high rocks or any of that. So, peak performance. How do you define that for a client of yours, or how would they define it for themselves? What does that mean when somebody says peak performance?
Yeah. So it's a great question. Peak performance is the ability to do all the things you know and love from a physical element, um, and be able to do it at your best effort every single time. And so I think this also then kind of translates over into business or life as well, right? Being a peak performer at work, right? You would probably say, I can get all my tasks done, in a timely manner, ahead of schedule, right? Like I'm on it, I'm on the ball, right? And I feel like fitness is no different. And I think in modern times, a lot of people want to have, we can kind of think of it like the core four: body, being, balance, and business, right? So, a lot of people go after peak performance in their body and their business, right? But they don't also try to be peak performance with balancing like their family and lifestyle balance, right? Um, there's other elements besides your body and like your work that you have to also be a peak performer at. And then, your being, your spiritual health, like your mind, right? Like I think all four of those things in the core four, which there's a book on it. Those elements are kind of like things I kind of hold myself to. I'm like, hey, like you're doing exceptionally well as a peak performer in fitness, but like, how's your relationship with your wife and kids? right? And those are real conversations that a health coach will likely have as they get deeper into, what's going on with them. I can't tell you how many times I'm working with somebody like I'm going through a job change. They became a peak performer with their physical health. Then they started caring more about work as a result of like, I got all my like fitness stuff in order. I hit all my goals, right? Then they start like going after growth in other areas. So, I mean, peak performance really isn't just simply, the physical fitness side of things or, getting improved blood markers and all those things. Like, I think that might be where it starts for a lot of people. But ultimately, it's like those four categories being balanced at a very high level and being the top dog, top 1% in each thing for you.
Yeah. I want to love to get some practical suggestions from you because I know you have a lot of them. Like, what are some of the most, kind of effective habits nutritionally that you recommend to your clients for sustaining energy and mental focus throughout the day?
Okay. Yeah. So with that, I think the biggest first thing is structure, right? You got to create some sort of structure that you can adhere to 80 to 90% of the time. Got to have a little bit of free fun in there as well. I personally recommend having 4 real meals that are based off of your protein goal for the day. So anybody that's listening here, you probably know your weight, you probably know an ideal weight. Your grams of protein you would get in the day is probably somewhere in between there. So, I currently weigh 200 pounds. Maybe I want to weigh 185. All right, 185 to 200 grams of protein makes a whole lot of sense, right? To start with. Um, then from there, you have to also figure out like how many calories of your other macronutrients, but the other two don't really matter quite as much. And literature would support that. Like if you're trying to be again, a particular athlete in something, maybe carbs have their place. If you're trying to be someone that's doing more cognitively demanding tasks, fat might have its place, but you might have a dietary preference at that point. So those two kind of interchange, but they make up your total calories for the day. So your protein and total calories are the things that ultimately matter. And then kind of breaking them up into 4 real meals would be like the most practical thing that I would tell people to do. But why 4? And people are like, I could just do breakfast, lunch, dinner. It's like, I find that after years of doing this, that mid-afternoon meal, like an actual like sit down, it has a like 1 or 2 palms of protein after it's been cooked, like from a high quality protein source, maybe fists of vegetables or a carbohydrate, like a couple of cupped handfuls, right? Using the precision nutrition method. Um, if you have that meal at like mid-afternoon, kind of like right now, where it's like 2 p.m., right? This is a great time to have that because you get home and then you're waiting or you have to go cook dinner, right? But you ate at noon. You're now 4 to 5 hours, 6 hours removed from the last time you had food. And what happens? People, they have finger foods that are just readily available, chips, nuts, the like. And that's where I find that most people run into their biggest problems. And then they say, shoot, I'll just eat dinner normally. Oh, I don't care about today. I'm going to go eat another snack or something else. I'll get started tomorrow. And then you perpetually kick the can down the road. So 4 meals, with protein like emphasis happening across your day, spread out about every 3 or 4 hours is what I like to try to get people to try to do in the beginning because it's very practical. And then we can start having more fun at different times of the day once they kind of show to me that like that could work.
And once they probably feel the difference too. And when they get that structure down and do the, follow that recommendation, I imagine they feel the difference. They feel better too, which hopefully motivates them to continue.
Yeah. Point in case being, right now I have 2 challenges going on simultaneously with 2 different CrossFit gyms, right? All these people know how to work out, yet they have not really focused on their food. So we make a fun 6-week challenge where people get a personalized recommendation for them based on their intake that I sit down and do with an assistant. And then we get feedback over 6 weeks on how they need to modify that, right? Like it's like I'm letting them drive their own ship. I'm giving them some guardrails and some things to look back and report back on. And every single week, we are messaging everybody in these 2 groups and checking in on them. How are you doing? Do you need any help? What's going on? Right? I just got back from vacation, but I feel so great. Or I did have a slip up last week, but overall, I'm feeling much better. My energy is better. My ability to go do the workouts and the little mini challenges that are, fun that we throw out there for them, like they're having a good time. To me, if you make like nutrition and fitness fun, more people are it feels more inviting. I mean, we've done it at this one particular gym, one a quarter essentially, multiple people coming back, right? They may not be quite ready to just have, you know, perpetuity of the habits. They're still building them. And I mean, it's not a 21 day get you a habit type of approach. It's like, hey, we're here to help you push. Maybe you get a little more weight loss during those 6 weeks because they're checking in with us. Then they have 6 weeks where they're just kind of hands off. They're like, hey, it's maintenance mode. I'm going to keep these habits around. I feel really good. I'm going to go keep performing. And then since they kind of know that this is now kind of the structure that we're playing with, they're like, hey, I just need a little cleanup. I want to tune up. I want to dial it in a bit more. And so that's when they bust back out their phone or use some of those other tools. So to me, longstanding habits for a lot of people, it's not going to be a flip of a switch. I mean, it might take time. It might take a year. I've had a client that I worked with that in year one, 0 pounds lost, but in year two, 30 pounds lost.
Wow.
Why? Yeah. So what changed? She had to build up all these little micro habits to a level that would help facilitate a true deficit. And there were some other, issues with her gut we had to clear up as well. And there is validity to, gut health and other kind of protocols, but, you don't need to start with those. You need to start with like very core, fundamental, basic habits. And in all honesty, it's three main things. It's some level of fitness, 2 to 3 times a week. Some sort of like resistance training would be great. Pick your choice. CrossFit. It could be Pilates. It could be just normal, traditional, like bodybuilding type exercises. But you need that in there. The other one is movement, and quite a lot of it. You can audit yourself right now. Pull out your phone. Look at how many steps you've done over the last year. Don't say you don't have your phone on you at all times. We are glued to our phones 6 to 7 hours a day. Guaranteed you're getting a report card every Sunday from Apple or Samsung or whatever device you're using that tells you your screen time. So you can't sit here and tell me that your phone isn't on you more than 50% of the time that you're awake, right? So that will give you a number. Add 30 minutes to that or 3,000 steps of movement if you're feeling like you're in a desk job. And then outside of that, it's nutrition. And that's basically the basics we just talked about. Establishing a protein goal, spreading it out across your day. Probably start your morning with a little bit more if you're a female, because it's a little more difficult for you to probably eat a very protein rich meal with dinner and your sleep might be affected. So again, there's some little things that go on. And again, that's why being coached could be so valuable to so many people. You don't need to work with me for 1 or 3 years, but 3 months could maybe change your life and your habits and set a new tone where at the end of that, you don't need me anymore, but you want to be with me because I help you think and I help you overcome these new obstacles, right? In that 3 months, it may have been the perfect window. It's summer and you're a teacher. You got nothing but time. But what about the next 9 months when you're in school?
Well, I think that this is such a phenomenal way to think about somebody's health, because so often they're people don't make themselves a priority. They don't make
Mm.
their health a priority. There's so many excuses people make, or they put it off because they're busy with family or work, and they'll do it tomorrow. And having an accountability partner, which is essentially a health coach, to also help guide you and teach you practical steps and developing the habit, so it's not something where it sounds like there's a codependency there. It becomes an actual supportive, healthy relationship where people are learning the skills and the habits and the knowledge where they can manage themselves. But like any healthy relationship, there's benefits to continue that relationship, which somebody can choose to do or not as new challenges come up. One of the things, though, that is absolutely a health destroyer and ages us faster is chronic stress. What do you have any simple suggestions or techniques that you suggest to people for managing or reducing their stress to help them take their to improve their health?
So this is where this might actually fall out of my scope, if I'm being honest. I'm not a stress management expert by any stretch of the imagination. And I don't do a phenomenal job of doing it for myself either. But I do recognize that there are instances where I feel more free, right? Point in case, I call my assistant when I'm feeling as though I am dealing with a lot of like, just like in my head type of stress, which is normal for a business owner. And we'll sit down for an hour and do what feels like multiple days worth of work in 1 hour, because me talking it through with her and like actually doing the action is like stress reliever. I'm unloading this information out of my head into quote cyberspace or CRM essentially, right? Um, for other people, conversation I had with someone today, I've been really stressed out. I'm waking up ruminating at 3 a.m. What are you ruminating about? Oh, I have this presentation next week at work, and then I also have a family gathering that I'm responsible for all the logistics of. All right, cool. My first question: have you written any of the things you needed to get accomplished down? She's like, no, it's all in my head. Okay, let's maybe start with something as simple as putting it pen to paper. You know, everybody here may or may not have had like a stressful final exam at one point in their life, and you just like can't sleep. You're like seeing digits in your head and equations and all that. So my background's in math, so I have a very strong connection to that. Whereas like at my final exam in college, and I'm like, differential equations are just all over the place, and I couldn't sleep and slept like 4 hours for this, final exam. But if I had spent more time studying, writing it out, or if I had maybe written down a few bit more of those things versus just reading it, I think it would have done a good job. So I'm a big advocate for like quote unquote journaling, but journaling not in the sense of like it needs to be a daily habit. Journaling like the end of day thing. These are the things I hope to accomplish first thing tomorrow so I can get some good sleep tonight. Um, the other thing, some people like meditation and mindfulness and apps that can help with that. Maybe it's a sauna or other types of stuff. I personally don't have time for that. So I can't sit here in good conscience and say, like, hey, like, do this. But I do bring it up to people like, hey, maybe try some of these things if you think that you were successful in utilizing those tactics in the past.
Yeah,
One
great
thing,
questions. Yeah.
yeah. And the other thing too is one that I really do like that I should do more of is kind of like a 15 to 20-minute yoga nidra technique. So there are free videos on YouTube that just like try to like let you just literally lay down, put your headphones in, and then the idea behind it is just kind of like a corpse pose, you're just laying flat. And then the prompts just like, feel your toes, feel your fingers, just try to like be one with your body for a second and just kind of go into a light nap. So like set like a timer for 30 minutes in case you do fall asleep. But that like little thing, like they're instant stress reliever for me. And I wake up feeling very refreshed. And, again, it's hard to do it because I have young kids, but when I do it, it does make a world of a difference.
You talked about fitness, and a lot of people, I think, get overwhelmed what to try, what to do. Functional fitness is something that is, that's a term that's very popular now. How would somebody, how is that defined? And functional fitness versus other types of fitness, is one better than the other? If somebody's looking at classes or a gym, how do they know that it's functional fitness versus not functional fitness? How do you define those?
I think, in all honesty, I feel like the idea behind functional fitness is just marketing. It generally has less equipment than a, Globo gym, right? And or a traditional big box gym where there's like machines there. And
Mhm.
you'll notice the actual like layout and landscape of a lot of gyms these days. They have all the equipment that you would need to do a mixture of everything. So I go to an EOS fitness because it works with my schedule and time. They have sleds to push and other, modalities that are outside of just your traditional cable stack, right? So where to start for individuals? I mean, our first question I'd ask, can you do it alone or do you need a community of people? Right? Because that will dictate if I can write a program for you or if you need to go see a coach and have a group of people to kind of have some shared suffering, right? But it makes it fun because these people are like, they're very encouraging. They were once you, maybe they are you right now. You guys are both starting together. And that shared experience and that community bond will have you keep showing up because guess what? Not only do you have me, the coach, saying, hey, did you get to the gym this week? But there's like, hey, 3 or 4 different people from my class I've been going to are also saying, where are you today? Is everything all right? And that feels good. It feels good to be
Yeah,
one,
that
right?
connection. It's more than just exercise, it's also community.
And again, I go to EOS. We do it 5 days a week for about 60 to 90 minutes, depending on the day. A little longer on the weekends, a little less on the work days. And there's a group of 3 of us, soon to maybe be 4, right? So again, got our little like posse. Everybody else at that time, we all now know each other though after a few years. Hey, how are you doing? How's so and so? Like we haven't seen so and so in a while. Like when's the last time you saw that person? Oh, so and so is moving, right? So you actually could still foster a community environment in one of those gyms, but you can't go in there with the mindset thinking like people are going to make fun of me because I feel like the gym is one of the most friendly places on earth. You go up to anybody there.
I need to stop you for a second. There's a lot of noise in the background.
It just started hailing.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wait, you're in LA, are you?
I'm
Where?
in Vegas.
Oh, you're in Vegas. That's hail.
That's hail.
Wow. That's amazing. I thought it was somebody walked in the room and was doing something. Well, that's fascinating.
I know it's like bizarre weather that's been happening over the last couple of days.
Wow. Well, let's keep rolling then. That's fast. Okay. I was gonna just stop this and then edit it out, but that's kind of I'm gonna keep it in if that's all right. That's
I
great.
know, I know. I was like, I hope he can't hear it. And I bet you if I was just using the AirPods, it'd been fine. Like it would drown out the ambient sound. But I
Yeah.
tried to use that better mic, so and that was really coming down there. Yeah. It's the second day in a row actually this happened. So now I lost my train of thought.
Well, no, but I think that this is, let's connect this to health coaching and overall health. Is look, there are things that distract people. There are things that get people off course, whether it's psychological or physical. And I think one of the mindset things that I am talk to people about, and I try and implement myself, is that when that happens, um, first of all, to recognize that it's just temporary and get back on track. Don't let it derail the entire progress that you've made, and really to focus on how far you have come, how far I have come, versus, let's say I fall off the wagon one weekend, or maybe it turns into a week, or maybe it turns into 2 weeks. It's happened. How do I get myself back on track? And part of that is recognizing that it happens and it's okay. And then the second thing is, if, for example, I haven't gone to my exercise class for a while, to just go, show up, just do it once, and just do it one day and focus on that one day, and then tell myself, okay, I just have to do it today. I just have to do it today. And then tomorrow I say, I just have to do it today. That's something that's worked for me.
Yeah, and I think again, a bad day is like getting a flat tire, right? You're not going to go slash the other three because you had one blowout, right? That wouldn't make any sense. And a lot of people can like kind of create that kind of behavior in their head, like it's been a week or two and I haven't been able to like really amount to much of like my health goals. And truth be told, because I've used a few different models from other people that I've worked with and for, and that's why I stuck to weekly phone calls as like the only thing I do. I don't give an option of like emails, because emails is a way to avoid and dodge that deeper questioning to the people, right? Um, Even for me, I have a business coach that I'm working with right now. I get uncomfortable thinking about getting ready for that call every single time, but it's because I care. It's because I know that at the end of this 1 hour session with her, whatever it is I'm bringing to the table, she's going to have me come to a solution, but I don't know if I'm ready to have that conversation just yet. And I get worked up about it every single time. And it's the same way with your nutrition, your fitness coach, your health coach, whatever that person's title might be, because it's uncomfortable and it's you sitting with yourself and the things that you said you were going to do that you didn't actually do.
I love that flat tire analogy. I'm going to use that for myself. Like, I wouldn't slash the other three tires just because I get one flat tire. I fix
Yeah.
the tire and then I keep going.
Yeah. And so I forget who told me that, but I was like, it's like, it's brilliant. I'm
I love
stealing
it.
that because it's so perfect. And it's in my head playing when I have, moments of weakness myself. I'm not perfect, right? All of us are going to want to give in at times.
Yeah.
Maybe you can kind of white knuckle it a little bit longer and stay in it a little bit, but sometimes it does become a little bit more difficult. And so, and I use that analogy for people and they'll come back to me and say, I didn't slash all of three,
I like that. Yeah.
and amidst that moment of weakness, I got after it and I knew that I could report that back to you. I'm happy about that. And so, I've actually done models too, where I'm doing like every 2 weeks to call somebody versus every one, because, I'm trying to figure out the right cadence for people. 2 weeks is too long of a time frame for you to not report back to your coach. You can truncate the time down and say, I only got 10 minutes, but I need to talk to you, and just let's make this quick. But if you expanded to that 14-day time horizon when it comes to this, it becomes really hard. It feels like you're doing it yourself. So, I mean, if I were to be completely honest with you, if you're looking for a really good coach, I would tell you, like, they are not just doing emails or Loom videos or check-ins like that. They should be giving you FaceTime.
Great
And you
tip.
need to value that time as well, right? Because they are going to be incredibly busy. I'm working with 40 people that I'm trying to spend at least 30 minutes with per week, right? That's 20 hours of my time. And I want to make sure that it's respected for both of us. If you need more time, I will block out more time for you. And I think any coach that has a good, strong practice will understand that you might need more time, and
Yeah.
that is fine. And so that's like, just again, that's my thought process behind it. I think that's what will like kind of be the future, because I'm not telling you any information you can't go tell any AI thing to write information about. I know that. I
But
use AI all the time.
but you can't get that human connection. You can't get the nuance. You can't get the understanding.
You won't get those anecdotal stories, and other people, this might work for you. They can't fabricate those things, because I can't fabricate them either, because they've actually happened. And to me, that's what I would say that makes a great coach. It's people that help people become peak performers. And, you know, yeah, like, I feel as though people, you owe it to yourself to be the best version of yourself, right? Put some
I
time into
love that.
yourself, because you'll be better for everybody else around you.
And you owe it to your family if you have a family. You owe it to your spouse. You owe it to your kids. You owe it to your partner. Um, if it's not, because some people, that's not good enough. Saying, oh, some people aren't motivated by doing something intrinsically just for themselves. Whatever find, wherever they find that motivation, I'm all for encouraging. But I do agree with you. People do owe it to themselves. But if they're not quite there yet, and this has been me at certain points in my life where I haven't wanted to necessarily improve my health, or I've gone through a point where I was depressed, or struggling to be consistent with my exercise, or struggling to be consistent with my diet. There are times where I couldn't find that intrinsic motivation, but when I thought, I owe it to my wife, I owe it to my kids, that gave me the energy and the motivation to get up and get back on the wagon, to get back and on that path that made it healthier. And other times it was just about me. So I think that can take that inspiration, that fuel can come from different sources.
Can say anything better myself. And you can use them as fuel. I had a family very young. I started young relative to like modern day standards. My son, I'm about to be 32 next week. My son's 7 years old, so I had him at like basically 24, turning into 25. But if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be probably where I'm at now. I wouldn't go seek these things and try to grow further. So I have used him incredibly as the motivator, like from a business perspective. But again, trying to balance all those things out, I thought like to get to my best shape, it would be at age 35, because my kids will be a little older. I can actually just like be the type A personality that I am and get back to where I was when I was competing.
Yeah.
Come to find out, it just took a little bit of like, just chiseling away at it. Boom, 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 just kind of slowly getting there last year. And I was like, this isn't that hard. What I'm like making it out to be way harder. And I coach people in this, and again, like it sucks for my profession, because if you don't have like a exotic nutty physique, people are like, I can't trust that guy. Like I gotta be in single digit
You
body
got to
fat
be a walking
percentage.
billboard for your business.
But even better than that though, I try to make other people be my walking
Oh,
billboards.
I like that. Yeah.
And I'm like, if I can do that, I still need to look good. But I mean, John, like I was 15% body fat, feeling bad about myself, according to a DEXA
Wow.
scan. Like, you
That's
know,
excellent. Yeah.
I know that's, from a health perspective, that's fantastic. Like blood numbers look good, all the things there, but it's not nutty enough to sell myself on social media. And then I'm like, yeah, screw that. Like I shouldn't care about like what the internet says. I should care about the people in my community. So I went back into my community, like hit the pavement hard, and went to the gyms and started doing that. And like my cup got more full as I like actually got to know more people. I'm, while I am like internet based, I'm not internet bound. And as soon as every time I become internet bound, I do myself a disservice personally. Gotta be back in there. It's very community led stuff. And, I become a peak performer when I'm around. I gravitate to the energy of other people, and, those people getting these results in this challenge, and the other people I'm working with right now, like, I want to be the best version of myself, because I want them to get there, and I want them to bring more people in. And also for them to be honest about it. They tell people, hey, I see you've changed yourself since I last saw you. It might be a year ago, but yeah, it's taken me a year to get here. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Like It's going to be hard. It may not happen in 3 months. Some people it does, right? Just give yourself more time, give yourself some grace, be patient. And next thing you know, you can change your life.
I love that. How can people find out more about you and your work? Where do they go for that?
Instagram would be the best place to find me. So at Marcos Luke Rivera, that's my page. You can also find myself and my colleague Seamus on the the Macro Perspective podcast. That's also linked on my page. So if you go to my Instagram, you can find it through there. We have 2 episodes that drop every week. We try to bring in professionals like yourself to talk about different areas that we're not subject matter experts in, and again, if they're looking to find different people's perspective and also understand nutrition a little bit more, like macros, i.e., the macro perspective. That's where we came up with the name. Then that's the best place to find me.
I love it. Thank you for spending some time with me.
Thank you for having me.